Good morning. Uh, Wanted to talk to you today about how I used to feel about life as opposed to how I feel about life now at this stage of life. I have to take you back to when I was 6. Okay, so you could say I was born into America and I lived the normal, typical little kid's infant's life to toddler. And Uh, I was just average little one. And then at age 6, I came down with asthma. And so from age 6 on, I was taking pills. It was a pill called aminophylline. It was for asthma. And I had to take the pills, go to the hospital sometimes, emergency rooms and stuff like that. And during the elementary school years, I was in Chicago. And so you had to walk from your neighborhood, which would be 3, 4 blocks away, some kids even a little farther. But you had to walk to the nearest elementary school in your area. We didn't have school bus services or nothing like that. And so as a little one, I would go to school every day, and my mother was well. I gotta give you a little more background. My mother would have me when she was young. I'm from a single parent household. It was a time in my life when I had stepfather, but basically, I was raised by my mother. I had a little sister, no bigger brothers or nothing like that. And so, elementary school. On the walk to school, the gang members, these would be all older kids, big ones, the gang members would be lined up along the blocks and on your way, on your route to school, the way you had to walk. And every morning, all of the gangsters of the neighborhoods would be outside near the school, within a block of the school. And they would take all of the kids' lunch money every day. They'd be out there waiting for you. So in our neighborhoods, which wasn't quite ghetto, it was middle class neighborhoods or lower middle class, and everybody worked. And most people couldn't afford childcare. And so the kids at a certain age had to watch themselves. Parent be going to work, you had to go off to school. All right, they could get you dressed in the morning or something like that, but overall, you was gonna walk to school, carry your lunch, and have your lunch money and your books. So the gang members would take the girls didn't have it really bad back then in those days. They wouldn't like rob the girls, and very often I didn't see that unless it was the female gang members, like that. The guys would take our lunch money every day, and then most of us didn't go home and tell our mothers about it or our parents, because we didn't want them to be in an altercation with gang members. And then they start damaging their cars or come with some type of retaliation or something like that. So that went on for some years, with the terrorizing of the little ones. We had no police protection. The only time you saw a crossing guard was when you got within a block of the school. So if you had to walk 1 block down this way and 3 blocks over that way, you was on your own crossing those streets and waiting for the traffic lights and stuff like that, which you had been taught to uh, cross at the corners, wait for the light, stuff like that. But we were basically out there on our own when we had to go to and from school. And so, as far as protection from the school, once you got out, Well, you had the protection as long as you was on the school grounds. As soon as you walked off the school property and crossed the street, all the gang members in the world could be waiting for you. Nobody was going to be there to protect you or take care of you like that. You were on your own. So I could go on and on about those kind of stories and give you details about the old days, but I'll move on up to when I was 16. I hear rain coming down. That's what's got my attention for a second there. Um, Age 16, I had started. Now, remember, I started this off by telling you about the asthma. Okay, this is a big part of the story. So by age 16, I started getting part-time jobs. Now, let me tell you what a part-time job for me was back then. It was dishwashing in any restaurant that I could get the jobs in, and it was working for $1 per hour. And so what that meant was whatever size that restaurant was, if you wasn't a busboy, you were a dishwasher. And so the dishwasher, so if they had 50 clients, customers, or 100 or hundreds, you were in there washing dishes of course, you run through the machines unless you were on pots and pans, but you would be washing dishes for your, however many hours your shift were. But remember, it was only $1 an hour back there. And so I guess I was talking 1960s, early 70s or something like that. It was $1 an hour. And not only that, we weren't on the clock. Most of the time, we weren't on the clock. These were just jobs. You get a job. Yeah, I'll hire you, youngster, for $1 an hour. Cheap labor. As long as they had those days, they weren't crying about the illegal aliens or anything like that. They were not paying us directly, or them. They paid them even less than $1 an hour, probably 50 cents an hour for them, the illegals. So, the part-time jobs, I had to get those because I was always too sick to stay on anything. So I skipped from 6 to 16 to say that during those years, that was like a 10-year span there where I was just sick off and on, back and forth. A few good months, 6 bad months, and stuff like that. So I was never able to complete a full year of school. All right, a full year, that was out of the question. A full year on the job, that was out of the question because I was always too sick. And so I was had no education. You can't count that as education, in and out of school for years. That's not a standard American education anyway. And no education, sick, and living in Chicago was like living in Alaska in the winter times. Better than that, Antarctica. It was cold, below zero and stuff like that. So if I go outside and it's just 32 degrees, when it hit freezing, I breathe that. That's like freezing the inside of my lungs, getting hit by Mr. Freeze or something. So it wasn't good living in the cold area, and that's almost like in the Canada of Chicago. Now I look at the map and say, man, that was no wonder I'm too far north. I don't belong in these parts. So uneducated. So later I got married, and I could give you a previous marriage story, but there'll be a lot of details. It'll be real entertaining, but it'll be so far off course and track that it won't even go with how I used to feel about life, what I'm supposed to be telling you. So I was thinking that I was doing good under the circumstances, my personal circumstances, being sick and trying to make it in America. Well, when I say how I used to feel about life, because I had the typical feelings of, okay, I'm black, I'm born in America, I'm poor, to top it off, I'm sick, nobody cares, mom's struggling, doing the best she can. And it was just tough all over. And so, without a dad to teach me and guide me, I didn't really have a set structure, a male structure to teach me and guide me and get me mentally prepared for what life is going to bring at me and stuff like that. So I wound up growing up and mainly being focused on what I didn't have. I didn't see the little that we did have or the things that I had even began to get for myself. And I was always sick. And people, okay, I always looked at the negatives and I always saw what was wrong in everything. Not with a bad attitude, just naturally. I could just naturally see what's wrong with the plan, why this won't work, and just negative. Like Mr. Doom and Gloom, they always say, oh no, not DJ. He's going to find something wrong with this or that project or whatever. So, anyway, today is November the 1st. I see the rain has stopped. That was just a quick little shower. November the 1st is Saturday, and it's 2025 for the record, because when I'm gone, I want them to know that I was 70 in 2025 when I made this video. So, like I was saying, I could tell you a lot of stories and a lot of stuff after all these decades, but it'll just be, that's like just talking for entertainment purposes, and I'm not doing that. I will hope that I say things that be real, can affect your life or give you things to think about. Speaking of things to think about, I like to venture off. If you watch me, you know that I'll just go off course all the way down the rabbit trail. Well, while I'm talking about how I used to feel about life, I'll get a little bit on what bothers me about the people, even you and everybody that I know or don't know, that is like what I'm going to describe. Well, now I pay attention to things like who controls my food. And as I began to delve into that, I began to really look at that. You are not in control of your food and where it's come from. Most people that I know or run across, So that means that you get all of your food from the store, from the restaurant, from somebody else. You're not in charge of your food. Now you say, I got money and I can buy anything I want to buy. Yes, but what if they don't take your money? What if the store is not open? What if they said, we don't sell no more, we went out of business, or the people tore up my business and took everything? Now, who was in charge of your food? Now, when those people say you can't get any food, is that it? Do you just die? All right, so I'll get back on point. So I'm just saying that that's one of the things that bothers me, is that people are not looking at this, all right? Especially those in the cities. The food that you need to consume to live is controlled by other people. So that means they can starve you anytime they choose. You're not even in control of where your foods come from. So you know they've got control over you. Whoever controls your food can control you and your family. So, point is how I feel about life now, And what I care about now has changed too, where I care about family members, I really care about the family and what they're being taught and how I lead and just more important things than the average life is just people flowing through it like it's not that important or it's not that serious or that they've got all the time in the world. So now I think about things like who controls my food. I think about the birds, I feed them. I think about, you know, the creator more instead of the creation so much. As I feed the birds, I think about who made those birds. I think about how I can put on my coat, sweatshirts, and be warm, skull cap. And the birds just have those same feathers and they're out there in that cold and rain. And, it's just, I think that we should all be more focused on things that are more important than the daily running around in this big giant circle. It's all just a big distraction. It's all just designed to keep you busy, too busy to think, to keep you dependent on the system. It doesn't promote you toward God who created all of this. It keeps you focused on the creation or the things that man has invented and all kind of stuff. And man, it's just went so far from God that uh, we're thinking negatively about too many things, too much. And the problem with the thinking negative is that it's distracting you from the good or the Lord or seeing what's really righteous. And I believe that we should all strive to be more righteous because in these 70 years, I saw so many good people and then I saw more evil people. And so I know that the evil numbers are great masses in the millions, maybe billions on earth. And so even if it was 50-50, that's a lot of evil people. And so if the evil is this real, you know that the creator has to be real. All right. So uh, change the way you think about life. Well, at least examine the way you think about life and think about who controls your food. Not wait until everything goes bad and you talking about, Lord, what am I going to do? Lord, what am I going to do? The people that believe in God are supposed to prepare and know what they would do in case of, okay? So take care of yourself, take care of your family, prepare, okay? Can you eat for a week if the stores were closed? If they don't take your money, what are you going to do? So life is more serious than just your bills because all of that stuff will become secondary if you can't eat. And if you can't get any water, it'll become secondary very quickly within 72 hours. Okay, so do the best you can. Do not be entangled in all of the evil. Do not worry about what all these people are doing. Worry about your own life, your own soul, your own answers that you're going to have to give God one day. And so whether you believe it or not, it's not up to me. You don't have to believe it, but I'm telling you, You don't be focused on all of this worldly stuff. It'll drive you insane. Focus on the Lord. If you focus on all of these things, you have millions and millions of things to think about. If you think about God, you only have one thing to think about.